very good afternoon. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Jadhav, for your very insightful session on Odisha, much of which I think many of us sitting here did not know about. Right? Very insightful, a great perspective into what the state has to offer. Thank you so much. My panelists have already been introduced, so I won't waste your time going through it once again. Community tourism is something that has evolved from what we, always think of as a homestay. When we want to travel to a location that we're not well informed about, and the first thing we do is, apart from looking at hotels, is also trying to learn from the state, get an experience of the state. There are many websites, one of them like an Airbnb, where a tourist or someone who wants to travel to a state and backpack will Google, find out about, you look for the reviews to find out which homestay is a good homestay to live in. And then you'll make the phone calls, try and see if you can get a second opinion about the place. It has now evolved from just being homestays to something that's gone a little beyond that, where people want a homestay, but they also want an experience along with that. And that is something called community homestays or community tourism involving homestays. I'll begin this discussion with Manisha, whose work with, who's in fact a foundation, Village Ways, has brought about this change in community tourism. You've worked, in two states, largely apart from other parts of the country, Madhya Pradesh, Uttarakhand, your home state. You've gone back, you've set up these communities. What has been the experience? What has been the learning? How has this subtle shift happened?
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. And at the outset, I would like to thank Indian Express and the Meghalaya government for this opportunity to be here. It's my first home in Northeast because I've sort of spent my childhood here, so it's really good to be back. Coming to the question, I think the whole shift, because for us it was way back when we started in 2005. I think when the whole concept of rural tourism also was very new for the country, and I think the only research we found at that time, even which is prevalent now, is the most common way of staying in a rural area was staying in a homestay. Homestay typically has no definition. I would say that the definition is in fact becoming more confusing by the day, because homestays have been interpreted in different ways. Every possible stay is being termed as a homestay. So I would say it has actually landed up in a more confused state than it was at that time. But when I say that, I think the only research which we found was that homestays particularly meant that you will be engaging people who have the resources to participate in tourism, because it's a very self-individual, run and invested sort of setup. So the first step only was very deterrent to involving the communities who are in real need for a livelihood. And I think the shift has come for us because of that. Is why we want to involve a community in a tourism venture, is because we want the benefits to be shared by the community and not get restricted to only few pockets in the village or in just few families. Because eventually what we have observed now over 18 years almost of working in 30 plus villages now across India and even outside India, I think we've seen that over a period of time, money brings lot of goodness in the village. It brings the income in the village. It brings the necessary income, but it also brings conflicts in the village. So particularly in the scenario of rural areas, to avoid conflicts, we have to look at a very robust model of tourism with the communities, which means that they are all involved and they are not just sharing the benefits, but they're also sharing the responsibility of the dangers tourism can bring into their area. I would start the conversation there, I think.
Thank you. Ms. Jo, lovely to have you. We were chatting earlier and we were talking about Mizoram, where you're from as a state. It hasn't made its mark yet on the tourism map, but it has a homestay presence, right? What has been the experience there? What have been the learnings from the state?
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, on the context of Mizoram, for tourism, like community tourism and homestays in Mizoram, we have been blessed. We are lucky also. I just want to start with recently when we went through this changes, because the trend is changing. As we know, Indian travelers have evolved through the years, and they want to seek experience that allow them to live like the locals and immerse themselves in the culture of the destination. So that is what community tourism is all about, and homestays is all about. So we have a very good example, after our government in the tourism department have taken the initiative, uh, like in 2016 under the pilot project known as New Economic Development Policy, that is NEDP, there were some more than like 40 homestays which were developed. And later on, we added up to it. And one of the example village that is known as Ray in Mizoram, which recently got the gold category, Best Tourism Village of India 2023, recently. So it is all about community participation, where they have formed a tourism development board, consisting of all the NGOs, the churches in Mizoram, and the prominent citizens of that place. So they do cleanliness drives and beautification of the village regularly, and tender to the garbage waste also, and the waste management. So that is one of our Rayan village been a strong example for community tourism and home this homestay say, in Mizoram.
Mr. Bla, you've also been very well connected. I mean, I just met you today, but the number of people here that know you and the work that you've done for tourism in the Northeast, you have some suggestions, you have some insights on homestays and how they develop in the region, in fact, benefited the region?
First of all, I would like to thank the Indian Express for inviting me here. This is a very important discussion today on green tourism. In fact, before I answer the question, I would like to take a little bit of history here. We have seen the Northeast now. Today it is in the tourism map, especially in the state of Meghalaya, Sikkim, and some other states. We have done very well in tourism now. But you take few years back, 10, 15 years ago, nobody knows about tourism. So definitely, since you don't have tourists coming to the region, many of the communities, they don't know anything about tourism. They're not aware what is tourism. And with the coming of tourism now, because of the social media and all things, so the tourists have started coming. Because before that, even if you ask them, I think I'll remind you what Mr. Tayang has mentioned earlier, that even if you, you see people coming to Northeast, tourists coming to Northeast, they don't want to come. Because they say, okay, there's a lot of militants and all, security problems. And in fact, he has mentioned, I think, about the problems that we face. He also mentioned about this thing. I remember one of the thing I was talking about the crime rates. I think you have more crime rates, in a place called Paharganj, Delhi, than entire Northeast. But then you have the maximum hotels in Paharganj and lots of tourists foreigners staying in Paharganj. So that is what happened, I think. So that's why Northeast is safe now. And with this, now you have tourists coming. And now when the tourists start coming this side, what happened? They found that the properties that are available in the Northeast are not up to the mark. There are no good properties where to stay. Now, definitely, when there are no good properties, so the good high tourist doesn't come. From Mr. Yadav mentioned about that. Also, I think he has mentioned about the good properties that needs to be coming up the site. Because even if Bollywood star, they go to Bhutan, why they go to Bhutan and why they're not coming here. So that definitely when good properties are there, so definitely the good tourists will come. But now slowly you have seen now, even I think most of you are staying in a 5-star hotel in Shillong right now. So this is the first time I think you've seen a 5-star hotel in Shillong. Those are frequent visitors to the site. So now properties have come because of the market demand. Now when the demand is there in the market, definitely people start coming into the business. And when they come to the business, especially Northeast, because I think Northeast as a composite destination for tourism. I've always been mentioning earlier everywhere that Northeast is a composite destination because for a tourist coming to Northeast, he's not bothered about political boundaries. He's bothered about what he wants from the northeast. Okay. So when they come to site, so what happens is that they go to the villages. Even in Shillong, we like about 5-10 years back, tourists come, they stay in Shillong, and there's one day trip to Chettri, Sora, or to other locations. But today you find maximum people coming, tourists coming, are staying outside the city, Shillong. More than I think 70-80% of people are staying in outside the Shillong. So that's why, because there are accommodation available for them. Now, what happens is that they say that okay, there are so many guest houses and hotels coming up in the rural areas. Across not only Meghalaya but across the northeast, because they've seen that there's a market demand. But one thing is that you know northeast. Northeast is one of the biggest, I think, eco destination in the country. People coming from bigger cities coming to northeast, they expect that they will have a kind of a holiday where they are free from seeing big buildings, seeing all the the crowd, like whatever they see. If there's the same thing, they are getting away back home, so might as well not come to the site. So what happened now? This concept of homestay has come. Now, when the concept of homestay came, most of the people are not aware because what is a homestay? Because prior to that, they have not even seen tourists. And now forget about getting tourists coming and staying in their home. In their home. So what happens? Some of them says, okay, homestay means I will provide some accommodation in my compound. Yeah. Some of them you see have got they have constructed some few rooms, 2, 3 rooms, 5 rooms inside the compound. They themselves are staying in the main house, and then they give the keys. The tourist comes, they give them the keys and they stay there. So that is the concept of homestay to them. Now slowly they have realized that people want, when you say a homestay means they want to stay in your home. And they want to learn about your culture, they want to learn about your cuisine, they want to learn something about what you can offer to them, which they are not getting in their own place. They want to learn so many things. So that means they want to experience the life what we people, Northeast people do here are living. What kind of a life it should be. Yeah. So that is what now suddenly now they realize that unless they work together with the whole community, even a person coming, individual, having just a homestay in their whole house, he will not be able to do so many things which the guests or the visitors require from them. So he needs the support of everyone. That is where now we have seen that the communities have come together. They have learned to you have cooperative societies. You have tourism cooperative societies coming up in this, especially in Meghalaya. And then you have got so many other various councils also, they have come up with this. So they come together, so let us have something good thing. This is a very good thing, because what happens is that finally we can know that how we will be able to sustain tourism here.
Yeah. Let me bring in Jashoda also, sorry to interrupt. How is this helping the local economy, especially in a state like Sikkim, which is very environmentally sensitive? We recently had a flooding experience, but when footfall increases, and thanks to social media over the past 5-7 years, you've seen a huge increase. Instagram, in fact, is one big boost for people who want to come and click pictures in the same spot that their friends have, right? But what is the contribution that brings to the local economy, right? How can the local economy be involved in such communities?
Before I get into that, let me give you a brief background of how homestay movement started in India and from where. It started in a place called Tinchule in Darjeeling, near Darjeeling, and after that Sikkim and Kerala were one of the first states to pick up the homestay movement. And in our 30 years of training homestay owners, what you realized is it plays a tremendous role in empowering the community, especially the women. It is directly related to women empowerment. Ma'am here would vouch for that. And what Blasa just said, please do not confuse homestay with Airbnb. The owner will give you a set of keys and the rooms outside the house. That's not homestay. Homestay is where a person will come to your house, be a part of your family, eat what you cook for them. They do not get to demand what they want to eat. They eat what we eat, the local, freshly produced and procured items. So coming back to your question, in Sikkim we have seen tremendous development in the homestay movement. And we have different categories of homestays, along with banning water bottles and plastic. We have even banned the leasing or subletting of homestays. That's a recent policy of the Sikkim government to safeguard the interest of the first generation entrepreneurs.
who open their hearts and homes to strangers. But again, it has to be a win-win situation for both the parties. For that, there is a lot of mechanism in place. The safety, the registration, the verification, everything happens. So I think a homestay is a very good concept, especially to empower the ladies of the family. Because there is no other person than the woman of the house who can represent the traditions, the customs, the culture in the most authentic manner possible. And whenever you stay in a hotel, all hotels will give you a very standard experience. But in my travels, no two homestays have been alike wherever I travel, length and breadth of the country. So the owners also must take pride in their uniqueness. The USP is the uniqueness, the food they prepare, the way it is prepared, everything is so unique to each homestay. So we have to respect that, and both the parties need to have some kind of sensitivity towards each other. And Sikkim, I'm very happy to tell you that it's leading the way when it comes to homestay model, and they are doing very well. And yeah, the government gives a lot of subsidies, there's a lot of encouragement and push to entrepreneurs to start their homestays, and yeah, we can just, maybe sit after the session and discuss how we can take it further. And I am of the opinion that it's very important that all of Northeast comes together to make this homestay movement stronger. Because by default, we lead very eco-friendly lives in the Northeast. So our food is very natural, by default organic, people are nice, places are interesting. So yeah, we must come together and strengthen this movement.
Manisha, could you? Sorry, you want to answer? Please do. Please.
This is what she said that okay, we need to encourage a lot of community homestays in Northeast. They are the people from Sikkim who taught about community, taught others about community homestays. Recently, when I was at Nepal, Eastern Nepal, I was shocked that we have 37 community homestays in Nepal. And I asked them, I think most of them learn about homestays, community homestays from Sikkim.
Manisha, very quickly, if you could, help us understand through your organization, and you're also part of the India chapter of responsible tourism. How can these benefits actually help the community? And there are some initiatives that you've taken. So maybe our audience will like to know.
Well, actually, we have been more or less doing our work on a research basis, so trying to study the impacts that tourism has brought into these communities as well as environment. Because our first 5 villages were inside a protected area, wildlife protected area. So there are some examples which can be shared with everybody as sort of a benchmark as where we have learned the lessons and where things have worked. And lately we have been working with the government and sharing these experiences for that purpose. So community overall, I will give you few anecdotes which might help, because otherwise just giving theories won't really matter. So we have, like in our first region where we worked with 5 villages inside a sanctuary, wildlife sanctuary, there were serious problems with the forest department and the communities. And it is very common thing to be seen almost in all parts of our country, wherever the villages are located inside any protected area. So the straightforward answer is relocation, but frankly, no village really wants to relocate. So over a period of 15 years now that we talk to our guides who have been trained in local flora, history, they are walking with the guests and they are very fluent in English, they speak well in languages. I think when we ask them, they give us an example that earlier when they were young kids, they would throw stones at the birds because it was more like a game for them to kill the birds. And now they all, whenever they are walking with the guests or irrespective, but even if they are walking alone, they like to identify the bird. So they open a book and try to learn the name, so that every year they can upgrade their knowledge about the local birds. And to the extent that this, from last 2 years, we've been organizing a birding festival, which is completely hosted by the 5 villages, and all the guides are from these villages. So this is an example of how they have themselves started to redevelop their association with the forest, which they were sort of hating at one point. At one stage they were in that, their spirit was that the forest has become a burden for us. Today we can't do anything because the forest laws are implicated on us.
So just a change in perspective, perhaps.
So I think tourism has the power to change, not just, first is that conservation can't happen without the community support. We can't do that, it is impossible. So, and the communities, if they don't have any benefits from the forest or any environmental regions, they are really not interested to conserve. But when you bring in a little income to them directly, the benefit plus the conservation has to be done in consultation with them. I think that is where the whole balance comes. And even the forest department in couple of our meetings have said that they have seen so many positive results in an area which was they were having very serious problems of how to engage the community or just talk to the community. So I think there are so many such examples, but yes, I mean, overall there are many benefits which rightly done can bring to a community.
Joe, very quickly, if you could, I mean, and in fact, very interestingly, your organization, Mizoram Tours, and now you just told me your daughter's also starting to, enter the same industry, which is very impressive. But in terms of, visibly increasing the prominence of homestays, community homestays, in terms of marketing, in terms of promotions. Any ideas, any suggestions that you have that you can offer to other states as well? Things that you've realized have benefited you and your organization a lot. What are the learnings?
Yeah, thank you so much, and it's good to see the future generation of tourism industry or stakeholders all sitting here. One of the Blasa is here, so we have a group, we have a confederation, like Northeast India Tourism Confederation, where we actually through this we look after each other, like all the states of the Northeast, for responsible and sustainable tourism in the Northeast. And as mentioned, we have seven sisters and one big brother. So Sikkim is always there, especially in tourism. We always take the guide or the all the whatever ideas, most of the ideas we get. So through this, we are corresponding with each other, and we need, as mentioned by our earlier panelists also, we are also we need to stress in the Northeast of high value, low impact and niche tourism in the Northeast. So there's a very fine line, thin line between this and of this outdoor and ecotourism is the need for this. We have to limit ourselves as to how much we can absorb, and not running after footfalls only. So we have to be very careful in this. For example, for Mizoram, our population is only around 13 lakhs, and so we should and feel that we should have proportionate visitors for the state. That is why. And one more thing I just wanted to say is, like, only through community homestays or community-based tourism we can bring in clean money. That's one one thing which we've been discussing also as partners in the Northeast. So this is a very important industry, like smokeless and clean industry. So that is my comments.
Thank you. I'll leave this open, and if anyone wants to answer this. What role does the government play here? In terms of changing policy, in terms of sometimes a small change really helps. In terms of, say, I don't want to say reducing mass tourism, but bettering tourism, bettering footfall, ensuring better quality tourists. That in the earlier panels they discussed having people stay for longer, right? And it's not just a one-day, weekend experience, but it's a week-long experience that you enjoy the entire region, because each state is so different, each culture is so different. Are there policy changes that you all can talk about, that you all perhaps want to see?
Meghalaya state have come up with a homestay policy. So they are encouraging all people, those who are attending a homestay. That's why they're giving financial assistance to those who are coming up with the homestays. This will be very helpful, because what happens is that the financial assistance that they're giving is, you cannot imagine. Just give you an example. If this was rupees 10 lakhs, okay. Now they've linked it with the PMEGP scheme. So what happened is that 35% is given by the state, and another 35% through the MGP scheme, and total about 70% is subsidized. So if you have 10 lakhs investment for homestay, you have to spend only 3 lakhs, and that too also is from the bank. I think only percent is from your pocket. So that definitely this encourage people to come up with homestays, because most of the homestays are all in the rural areas. People cannot afford. So this is one thing which the Meghalaya government has come up, and I think because Meghalaya government also the thinking is that is always for niche tourism. We want niche tourism. We are looking at the Bhutan model also. That because we don't have we cannot afford to have mass tourism here. Where carrying capacity of the place is much below whatever the footfall we are receiving right now. So for sustainability of tourism here, so for this homestays package that's given by the government is one of the initiatives that Meghalaya government has done a good job. And we hope there are many takers because their targets also, the government target is huge. It is, I think, recently also our minister mentioned about 5,000 homestays. That was our initial target the next 1 years.
Yeah.
So we hope that people will come and take this package.
Sure.
I mean, I do know that homestay policy as a policy has been almost coming up in all the states, considering that the union government also is giving a lot of stress to rural tourism. Having said that, I give an example of the state of Madhya Pradesh because we have been working there for at least more than 2 years now, and what they have done is, when you talk about homestays, one is the development of homestays, and the second is how you market it. And to be honest, the marketing bit is also very tough because in the longer run, when the government will exit after the infrastructure is ready, the communities at every level, whether it's an urban homestay or a rural homestay, will need some hand-holding for marketing and the right type of marketing, so that they are also very, they find confidence in what they've started. Otherwise, there may be reluctance and they may back out. So I think one of the good things that they have done is outsourcing, at least getting some PSOs, which are the project support organizations, to come in place. So wherever they are building the homestays, they have engaged outside agencies, NGOs, companies like minded social enterprises who come and work with the communities. And that could be the local level organizations, But I don't think that only government policies will do the thing, because eventually the communities will need the handholding for at least a year or two after the setup is already made, because the more challenges come when the guests start coming, and what type of travelers will go there, who will do the marketing. I think those are the policy level questions which I think government could look at the policy level when they do these kind of funding for the homestays. And apart from that, when I talk about especially in Northeast, one of my personal worries is that it's at a stage when things are developing. Meghalaya has already done very well, and I think it's the leader here in the northeastern states after Sikkim, of course, where things are happening. So I think the documentation of what has been the experience would be very helpful for the other states, because they have the experience of how it has been. Is it really working for the communities? What do the people think about it? Where are the gaps?
Right.
I think that kind of an analysis would be very helpful for other states now.
Would you like to add something, Jashoda?
Yes, we could have some knowledge sharing because we have so much to learn from each other, and Sikkim would be more than happy to help you, whoever wants to, join hands with us. And it's very important to have the sense of ownership. I see a lot of youth here, they have the potential to be first generation entrepreneurs. So that sense of ownership and belonging is very important, whether they run a hotel or a homestay. That we have to keep in mind. And we should always urge the government to come up with the best practices that will, conserve and preserve the very ethos of what drives us in the homestay sector and tourism as whole. Yeah.
I think we'll have some. You want to say anything? Or we can take 2 questions if there are any. Please feel free to put your hands up and we can speak. Anyone? Any questions for panelists? On homestays, on initiatives that maybe a lot of young people, and then most homestays also are also run by a lot of young people. Ideas, suggestions.
We can take 2 questions. Anybody wants to ask a question?
I think we have one. Yeah.
Good morning, ma'am and sir. I'm from Guwahati, first semester student. My question is that if somebody wants to open a Northeast stay home, what are to expect? What are the challenges to expect?
So Uh, definitely there will be challenges because you're a student, no? So what happens is that now when you come for a homestay, definitely you will need lots of support from whatever source you can get the support from. Like I just mentioned just now about the tourism policy of the government and the homestay that they're giving. That is one part is the financial support. Now other things is that I would feel that because you're coming in this field of tourism, and as a person who's running or operating in the homestay, you have to have some basic knowledge of how tourism works, how hospitality business works. So now we have seen here in the audience, we have lots of students here, and I've seen many students from IHM here also. You know what? You can go to the IHM or to the institution and start learning to about what is how to operate a homestay, how to serve the people, how to accommodate them, how to you have to learn how to your what you call how to set up the furnitures in your place. Okay, the rooms required, the size, the bathrooms, all these other things which you require for a homestay. Because when a tourist comes, okay, he will need also the basic amenities that is required. Because you cannot just come and say a tourist coming to your house or to your home and just expect him or her to stay without the basic necessities. So these are the very important things which you require. And that is what, not only that, when we come on the homestay, not only after you started the homestay, we have also encouraged people to go for these capacity building programs. Because what happens, capacity building for service provider is very, very important. You have to keep on learning and learning. And then this is one thing which you can do. And I feel there's nothing like self-acquired knowledge. Because why? That is more important, and you get lots of experience from self-acquired knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you very
Any
much.
other quick questions? Or I won't stand with everyone.
My question is actually in terms of challenges, if communities, say in the rural areas, villages are ignorant or unwilling to accept tourism or establishment of any homestay, how does one tackle or try to bring about the change or awareness to these ignorant villages? Reasons could be that they could try to preserve the lands or remain secluded or just plain racist to outsiders. So how does one tackle to try to bring awareness if they're not willing to check the model?
Let me explain about your question. Sorry to Manan. What happened is that you are talking about the local communities. I'm talking like in Khasi, in the Meghalaya here, we do have the village darbars, like panchayats. If the local community within that area, within that jurisdiction, does not want to accept tourists to the area, how do you, create such an awareness where they will eventually allow?
See, one of the key things when you start working in any area is keenness from the community side. That is a critical thing because if you don't have keenness, if there is a resistance from a community for tourism, you need to respect that. So an idea could be to do something around it rather than directly approaching that particular area because you will not be able to engage. First of all, the keenness of the community is directly related to the experience of the guest. So if there is not that much enthusiasm in the community, then I think eventually when the guests start coming, they will have that lack of experience in these villages. So I think first thing is to identify the area where there is keenness. There is no sense of approaching an area where there is no keenness. It could be an area around it, perhaps, because they can have something to see evidently on ground and then maybe they will be convinced because when tourism comes, people are very curious about tourism. Some of the communities do show resistance because they think that they may have to, maybe they will have to fall back on their principles, maybe they will have to, cover the demands of the guests. So they don't have confidence and they have a lack of reluctance is there. So I think I would not suggest from our experience that you approach that particular area in the first go. That could be a phase 2, but phase 1 has to be where there is a keenness from the community side. And I just want to make one small point, just in case I'm out at the time, is that when we talk about the travelers, type of travelers, this niche word is used quite a bit, but I have a little bit of difference in my mind about it. The reason is when COVID happened, most of us were affected because inbound totally stopped for 3 years. We were actually only dependent on the domestic tourists. And we knew that the domestic tourists may be more demanding than the international travelers. We were not working towards it before that. We were finding that international guests will be easier to handle. But having said that, I think they are a more permanent base for marketing. And looking at the current scenario, climatic, political, everything, let's not be over dependent on also the niche and also the international travelers. We have to respect the Indian guests also. I'm not saying that we will do, but and it's all about creating principles in what you do, and you don't have to deter to not follow those principles. I think once we all create principles in our businesses, we are ourselves filtering the type of travelers who are coming there.
Absolutely.
So I think that's just a food for thought.
Yeah. I think we're well out of time, so I'll wrap up here. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you to the audience for patiently listening to us. And if you do have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to them. Our esteemed guests and panelists here. I'm sure they'll be happy to engage with you, answer your questions, help you, in fact, even build up your own homestay. Thank you so much.